Hi, everybody. This is a little bit different, and I'm really excited about a thing. You have no idea, but I want to kind of take you through it. Hang in there. This is going to be a little all over the place. I have a rough outline in my head of what to say, but I didn't come up with a script or even some talking points and what to hit, so I may jump around. I'm going to do my best. I built a thing, and by I built, it's complicated, and we'll kind of get into it. A bit of history here, just real quick. Let me kind of cover. I've been doing this for almost 8 years. I picked up a camera first, really like cameras, started taking pictures of birds, realized how much I like taking pictures of birds. Some months later, I wound up buying a bird guide, and I started kind of like, I don't remember at what point. I think after a bit with the first website where it was just a blog, I started going, I'm sharing the pictures in the blog posts. I should pull them out and put them separate so I have a list tracking the birds I've seen. See where this is going? Flash forward a few years, my list is unwieldy. It's ridiculous. It's really hard to keep track of things. I don't always have the time after I'm done editing photos and now creating videos when I'm going out. Like that's become a whole other process. I don't always have time to update the website. I try to. I'm working on it. It's usually a batch. It's not right away as soon as I've seen something. It's usually like, oh, it's been a few months. Let me get all the photos up on the website now. Even today, that's just kind of how it goes. It's much easier to just throw them in, put them on Patreon, something like that. That's kind of how it goes nowadays. But eventually I would wind up making a list, an actual spreadsheet. And I use Google Sheets, and that's fine. But at some point, actually, I know exactly the point. I made the decision I was done with Google entirely when I had been recording a vlog. So it was after 2021. Sometime during that time, I had a Pixel phone, and I had shot a whole video that was 5-10 minutes, something like that. And it saved it, recorded it, apparently immediately put it, even though I had storage on my phone, immediately put it on the cloud and then held it hostage. I could not download it. I could not get the file in. I tried everything. I am a fairly technical person. I did everything I could. They were holding it hostage and would not let me do anything with that video until I paid them money because it went over the tier for the storage limit. And that pissed me off. I was done with them at that point. I used to use Google for everything. I had like any Google product as I did, I'd used all of them. I use very little now. I have completely separated from that and tried to find alternatives in every single way. So the Google spreadsheet of all that, that's gone. I then moved on to using something else. And I can actually show you what I've got here. The website currently looks like this. That's not what I was trying to show you. This is a different program. I like it. I wanted something encrypted. It's called Standard Notes. It's useful. I pay for it. I like it. But the spreadsheet is just, look, I've now learned Excel is like the big name, but it costs big dollars. Google is free and it works really, really well. I have to hand it to them. As much as I do not want to use it in any way, it does work like the best implementation of a free version of spreadsheets I've ever used, even better than like OpenOffice or some of the other ones. But anyway, this is not about the software. This is just that I have now been keeping a spreadsheet of every bird I've ever seen, the date that I've seen it. And then, some things have changed over time. These should not be labeled like this. These say American coot, American crow, American dipper. That is what we call them. That is the order that we call them in. That is not the order that they really should be in because it makes it very difficult to see. If I want to see different kinds of different kinds of different kind of sparrow, right? Sparrow, there's a lot of them. If I go down to S and I look for sparrow, there's nothing here under SP alphabetically, because they're under white-crowned sparrow, white-throated sparrow, other kinds of like there's going to be song sparrow in here. There's going to be other ones. They're just alphabetized the wrong way, and I should have fixed that at some point. I knew I was doing wrong. I'm going to fix it on the website too. This is what the current website currently looks like. It has changed form multiple times. It used to just be a list. I tried really hard to put a spreadsheet on here as just a running list. It doesn't. I've tried and I've tried and I've tried. And I've tried different versions. I've tried different things. I'm happy with where the website is at now, but I do want to change all the names. And I do want to change them to the way that they are when I look them up in the field guide, which is last name first, I guess, is basically the way. Like if you look up owl, then comma, and you would have barred or screeching or snowy or whatever, that is, I don't know the name of it, but that is a proper way to do this. That's a better way to do this. That's the way we are going to do this. Eventually, it'll take me some time. So now a bit more story to get to this point. I have been frustrated with my spreadsheet. It's really hard to find. Like there's a lot to be desired when it comes to the app that I'm using right now. No fault of its own, kind of. But like, I don't blame them. It's fine. It's not really why I use it. That's just a secondary thing. A spreadsheet's not the best way to do this anyway. It's really nice to have something like that, but it's limited. You know what I can't do? Because it's just a list of names. I can't see an image of the thing. It's not great. Now, at this point, let me explain that there are also other things that I didn't realize existed because I started with a camera, started looking at birds, and didn't go into bird watching and never bothered to look up too much about bird watching, apparently. So now that I've been meeting up with groups and seeing what other people do, there are some really useful apps. I have talked about them. I am now using them in different ways, but not all the time and things like that. eBird is a big one. That very much, Merlin really helps it identify sound and through images and things like that. Those are great. But again, think about what I talked about with Google. They can take it and they can disappear. I think it's unlikely that's going to happen at any point, but like servers can go down. It's not perfect or anything, or they just don't have the money to host it anymore. Everything costs money. That's just a legitimate fact. No website, nothing exists without costing in some way, somehow, no matter what. So eventually, if they run out of funding, I don't think that could happen, but like it could go away. There's also on eBird, which is a great way to track them, and I do recommend that. I am doing that as well, but that is just like, I've heard, this has not happened to me yet, but I have heard if you see something rare or something that's protected in a certain way, if you see a bird like that and you submit it, it will get kicked out. It will be removed. I don't know if that means it removes it from your own personal list. And so therefore it's like, even though you saw it and you like, if you don't prove it, if you didn't bring a camera or anything like that, and you just saw it or you heard it or it's that, someone else has the ability to gatekeep it. And that makes sense. Just to be clear, I'm not complaining about that. I understand why scientifically they need to do that, or also for things that are protected. They don't want, if there's a rare bird that everyone wants to go to, it's going to flood the area. We, above all else, should be protecting these things. By all means. I get it. That makes sense. But it does mean I could never have a complete list on someone else's behalf with that. I need to make my own. I need a better way to do it than a spreadsheet. And that brings me to second bit of history. For the last few years, my job changed. I haven't talked about it very much. I've alluded to it here or there, more so on Patreon instead of talking about it publicly. I think my job might be going away very quickly. I'm one of a handful of employees left. They've been laying people off left and right. I think it's going to go away, so I'm less motivated to not talk about it. I have been training as a software developer. I am not a software developer. I have been, by training, I mean, there have been some courses, and we typically do an hour a week where we watch a video course. I watch a video course and then can talk about it with a senior developer who actually has been to school, has a degree, done the whole thing. I've been doing that for more than 2 years now. And I have learned all kinds of just the beginning basics building blocks of JavaScript, TypeScript, HTML, CSS, SQL, so many others just to mention a few off the top of my head of things like that. I do have a basic understanding. And through the help of other things, I have built a few websites. Now, when I think about trying to explain something really complicated like this in terms to people who might not understand it, I think about my dad. My dad's almost 80. What year was he born? Oh no. I think almost 80. Sorry if I got that wrong. My dad's a smart guy, absolutely, but technology always kind of he understands the basics. He can go into a computer, he can get himself in trouble, playing around with the internet, and by that I mean like buying things online on eBay. But anyway, he knows enough to function on a computer, but I am the technical part of the family. That's just pretty much a fact. When someone needs something technical, they come to me. I, for whatever reason, picked it up on my own entirely and just have that drive of how do I make this work? I will Google and find out the answer. Well, that has shifted in technology now. And that's kind of what this is also about as well. And so one thing I can do is try my best to put this into terms that my dad would understand. Bear with me. If you already know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. Skip it. I don't care. The point is that he might not. And at least if I try to explain it to him, that'll make sense for me. And other people might get it too. He was an aircraft mechanic for many years. Keep that in mind. So I have some training. I don't have a lot of training. I can't really function too well on my own just yet. I can muddle through. I can figure things out. That's where I'm at after about 2 years. I'd still, junior developer is definitely a name for like what I can actually functionally do on my own. But we have new tools now. And that's kind of the best way I can describe it, is that they are tools. AI is a tool. It is a controversial tool, but it is a really, really useful tool. So to explain how this kind of works in mechanic terms, how do we get to this? So imagine if you are an aircraft mechanic and you need to do something like put a bolt in something, right? That makes sense. You would use a wrench. It's a good wrench. You have a wrench, you know how to use the wrench, you could do that. You can do many things with that wrench, especially putting bolts in where they need to go and like screwing the nut on and whatnot. That makes sense, right? That is a tool. Building computer programs is a tool. You use tools to do that, essentially. I'm summarizing and simplifying it greatly, but like you do use a tool. Now imagine that you always use this wrench tool, and then somebody came along and went, hey, you know what we've built is a pneumatic drill gun. And you could put a socket on there and then have it done in 2 seconds. And it's just much faster. This is not exactly a good comparison one-to-one, but like it's what's making sense in my head to explain it to my dad. Now imagine that that's what I have with AI. I can use AI to build things faster and better. It's just a better tool. Now, the best thing I can try to convert it for you to understand why it's not just okay, great, it's a new tool and everything's great about it, is that tool, that pneumatic drill gun, was built by the people who used to make schematics for planes, kind of. And now they took that really doesn't work, does it? They took that, and the people who made the schematics did not get any money for that. They just stole it. And then they made their tool, and now they put it out there, and they don't pay the people who gave them the work to do that stuff. That's essentially what's happening with AI. I think it's a fantastic tool. I think it's incredible. We're going to go into what I was able to do with it, and I'm blown away. But I do recognize that it's a controversial topic. I don't care too much about a lot of that because it's done with, in my opinion. To be clear, I think the people who did this should be held accountable for they were responsible. They should be held accountable. They should have only trained it on data that was publicly available. There's plenty in the public domain. The writing would have been really old, but if you'd shown it, I don't know. We could play, woulda, coulda, shoulda, 10 ways to Sunday. Is it 6 ways to Sunday? I don't know. We could have done that all day long. It doesn't matter. Unfortunately, the genie's out of the bottle. You can't put it back. It's not going to happen. And there's essentially an arms race over AI to get it as quick as possible to do these things. And yes, there's a lot of bad about it. I don't doubt it in the slightest. It's not going to turn into Terminator. It's not the end of the world. I think there are too many, personally, I think there are too many obstacles that it would have to come to. And at that point, like the entire thing would be, unless some human programmed it specifically to go, I want you to kill all humans. I think the entire, like it's science fiction that they would go, oh, we have to be perfect. Perfection is there. So we'll kill all the humans because we are perfect. No, the robots would be just as flawed. They were built by the humans who were just as flawed. So they would have had the flaws in their own system. I don't foresee AIs being able to build AIs to get to a point of perfection, to the point where they can't possibly conceive, not that they can think. So we shouldn't be using terms like that. I do try to keep that in mind when I talk about what AI can and can't do. It is not a thinking anything. It is not a brain. Anyway, I'm trying to simplify it. I've gone way off track for anything about that. But imagine I now have a tool. And the way that computer programs used to be built, I mean, way back was like zeros and ones, right? You understand binary code. That's kind of like, that's what binary is, zeros and ones. It's not done that way anymore. It's instead done in a way of like, you tell the computer, if this, then this. So if Michael is hungry, then feed Michael. Run program feed Michael. And you can go really far into that to be like, depending on how hungry Michael is, feed him this much or feed him this much to do those things until Michael is full, then stop eating. Can you tell that I'm currently on a calorie deficit and I'm really hungry? Anyway, that's how computer programs work now. That's what I was learning to build 2 years ago. That is functionally the lessons that we were learning. Now imagine that you have AI, which is a box. It's like a text message that you send to a bot. And you go, you don't have to speak in you can speak in plain English. And you literally go, hey, I track birds. And I don't want to give all of my data to eBird, and I want something that I can build myself, and I can customize it in ways that I couldn't. And I use a spreadsheet, but the spreadsheet's not great. And this is essentially what I told Claude Code, which is the AI and the software that I use to build what I built. What that's called is vibe coding. That is the title of it, because you as a person are not the programmer. And I got to be honest, I think this is the wave of the future. Genuinely, I think in the same way that there are developers who still program in, I don't know about binary, but definitely basic. And from my understanding of what I've learned about that and talking with my developer friend, they get paid a ridiculous amount of money because they're kind of the only people who can do it. And there are still major systems like train systems and plane system, like air traffic control built on really, really old technology that they go, oh, how much would it cost to replace this? It's billions. We're never replacing it. Hire the one developer, pay him anything he wants, and he'll come and fix this for us whenever it breaks, because it'll break all the time. That's just how the nature of software, and nothing is ever perfect or ever done. I think that is what's going to happen with a lot of programming. I think it's just the inevitable next step. In the same way that cameras transitioned from film and you had to manually develop it yourself to getting, professionals to develop it and to a digital camera. They can just take it to a camera in your phone. It's just going to happen, whether we like it or not. You can't fight against it. It's just going to, it's natural. It is better and people will accept it, and then it moves forward. And that's how it goes. And I'm not saying that there aren't people who still shoot on film. It's just going to become kind of a niche hobby. And there will absolutely be programmers who still type and do everything themselves. More power to you. That's great. I'd love to learn more about that, but at the same time, I'm not entirely sure that I really want to make this my career. I certainly have been doing it for long enough. We'll see. I don't know. That's beyond the scope of what I'm talking about here today. I simply wanted to show that I wanted to explain what this is and address that, yes, it's controversial, and hey, I did it anyway, because guess what I built? Not my website. My website is different. This website that I built, I absolutely used other tools and systems, so I didn't have to write code. That's how you build a website nowadays. Could you write it from scratch and make this website? Absolutely. Could you do it better? Absolutely. But you know what I did was I signed up for a service that I can kind of click and drag and drop, and it has an interface that makes it much easier and faster to build these things. That's what I did. That's what a lot of these things are. I built multiple websites. I made one for the video game related stuff that I do too. That's not that bad. But I did not have to I took a template. I took how do I describe this to an aircraft mechanic? Because it's not quite blueprints. It would be like if it's pre-assembled. Does that make sense? If it's a model kit, that's better. You're not an aircraft mechanic. You're building a model airplane, and the model airplane has already come basically almost fully assembled. Like, you're not putting together tiny little pieces. You're taking a whole thing, like Lego almost, and putting it together following instructions. And it's already laid out, and by the end you can customize it somewhat, but for the most part you're kind of limited into what is already there by the person who did all the work before you. And then you paint it whatever you want. You can make it look a little different, but again, what's underneath is different. I mean, what's underneath is already kind of pre-built. I went, hey, I want to put images here, and it said, okay, you can have 1 to 6. You cannot have more than 6. This is a template that's here, and it is limiting how many, not that I have more than 6, but like there are certain ways, and this is how I have to work with, if I want an image on this side, I have to choose a template that does it. And there are things that get more customizable. There are things to the point where you can do more, but again, it costs more money usually, or you have to get something that you do yourself. And I wanted to build a website as quickly as possible, as easily as possible, without putting too much thought and effort into it, because I'm not really a web developer, to be honest with you. This is a website, kind of. This is more than a website. And this was vibe coded out of my brain, that is the only thing I will take credit for on this, is that I have 8 years of experience of using spreadsheets and failing with spreadsheets and getting annoyed with spreadsheets. I used to use spreadsheets full time. That was my job. So like I do understand a good amount about how to do that stuff, but like just to track easily the birds that I have seen, that's what I want. And I can put in a fair amount of detail onto something like that. And most importantly, this is beholden to no one. It's actually pointing, my camera's in the wrong way. It's over this website, but I'm pointing at my monitor, which is not. Anyway, I own this. I told the AI, here's what I want. I want a website that has this, and this requires me to have a database, and a database is where all the raw data is stored for everything. And then I, kind of fancied it up in different ways and put some things on there. I can make a list, and I can put a photo on here. Like, for example, I think I have to log in for that. I'll get to that. Anyway, I wanted to see what would happen for some of this stuff, and I wanted to play around with it. And so like, what if I wanted to see them with an image? I don't have any images right now. I'm doing this at the beginning because this is not really a public thing. I'm not putting this out there for like people to use. This is mine. If you want your own, I don't know, ask me. I'm not going to charge for it. I legitimately, while I was setting up and talking to my developer friend, he was like, based on everything you've told me, this is essentially what eBird does, but it does it in a way that you can keep it local. You can have it yourself. This is probably, to the extent you've built it, something other people might want. You could sell this as a service. And I immediately went, nope, absolutely not. I will not. No way. The most I would do is if I show it to someone and there is interest and they want to do that, it would be someone in real life, because I could go to them and help them set it up, bring them files or whatever it would take to do something like that. Hey, if you want to make something like this, I did it in very little time using AI. Have at. But if you're smart enough to do that, if you're not, and I meet you in person and you wanted it, sure, I could do it. I don't know, give me $20. Here's your own copy. I am not going to build it for you after that. I'm not technical support ongoing. I'm not making this a business. I don't care. That's not the point. The point was just a better way for me to track my stuff. And I was able to pull in, because this is publicly available, a list of every known bird that's been identified in the United States. And they even show up, and I can put things on a wish list for ones that I want to see. And they've got the name, as I just talked about, so that it's a blackbird, rusty, and we call it a rusty blackbird. And then it's even got its scientific name, which is super nice, and the family it belongs to scientifically, and how many times I've cited one. It's got a bunch of stuff that I want. The table of all the ones I've seen. Obviously, this is not fully done. I was able to go in and kind of customize it. It's for more than that. And I will log in on another monitor for safety reasons. And then I'll come back over here and I'll refresh so you can see. Once I've logged in, it actually lets me customize some things. So like, there is some things that I didn't want public no matter what, because it technically is publicly facing if you have the URL. I wanted something that I could build and I don't have to access the database every time I need to add something, because I'm doing this 4 times a month. It's going to happen that I will have new things to add, new photos, new stuff. I'm not actually hosting anything on here because I wanted to keep it as small as possible and as free as possible. And that's another thing. I have put zero money into this. It would cost a little bit because you have to have AI do it, and the AI does cost. I used my work AI. It harmed no one. The credits were already there. I didn't go over them or anything. There was even a promo going on currently because Opus 4.6 just released not too long ago. That's just the model of the AI. And I used it and I was blown away with what it did. This entire thing from start to finish, I built a page. I redesigned the page multiple times. I put my image on there. For everything that it took to do this, we built a list with photos. We built a table view so that when I have a bunch on here, because I've almost identified 150 birds, which I'm super excited about, to hit 150. It's a fun way to track it and stuff like that. And I have everything on here, and I have a wish list. So if I, for some reason, sure, let's talk about the Nhinga. I saw that one not too long ago. I can put that on my wish list. It's been added to the wish list. If I go to my wish list, It's going to show me where. And I can say, I already saw it. And I can save a note to it. And when I'm ready to log it, I can come here and I can log it. And I can put where I saw it. And I can put that it was in Connecticut. And I can put the, I don't know latitude and longitude off the top of my head, so I have no idea this is where this would be. -80, nope, -90, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know. I could put what subspecies or the morph for the age or the sex. If I have a photo of it and I'm not happy with the photo, I can put I need improvement, or it was decent, or I nailed it. I can put a URL to put, that stuff into there as far as where it needs to go. I'm going to have to edit this because there's definitely things being shown on here I don't want to. I could put a URL for the audio. I'm trying to record the audio of the birds so that I can listen to it, or the video if I manage to get video. This is only visible to me if I wanted to put more information. I can do all of that. Or I could put notes like, it was cool. And I can add that as a citing. And then if I go look at my life list, I now have the Anhinga on here. And I can see that. And I can see a list of all of them. And then we really got a little fancy, and I can see a map. Now, you may notice I put, okay, so this is apparently where I saw the Anhinga, where I saw it, Connecticut, when I saw it. I played around. I threw one in Atlanta, but I put South Dakota, like wherever I put it. It's actually customizable a lot. And then I obviously went and saw a Christmas shearwater, whatever that bird is. I've never heard of that one before. That's new, at the North Pole. Anyway, this is really, really cool. If I haven't expressed that fully, this is like the coolest thing I have done for this. I now have to one by one import the spreadsheet, which is now I'm recording it now before I start putting real information in there, because there's a lot that I don't want to reveal, even if I did make it in a way that I will change it to a custom domain at some point, and I will be able to share that with a person. If I meet someone out there and they want to see, they're interested or whatever, I can be like, oh, here, just go to this website or scan this QR code, whatever I want to do. Here's access to it. You can't log in as me, so that's why I would never share it with anyone, just for security reasons. I did build in some security stuff to prevent that, but I'm not fully again, this isn't going to be a service. This isn't an app on my phone. It's just something you can access. But I did want, and I do have a future plan, to add a way to have an offline version that syncs to my phone, so that even if I am out in the field with no internet connection, it should have a somewhat recent version of it that I could browse. I don't know how to do that yet. I don't know how to do any of this, but Claude did. I literally, everything I told it, I built it, and it took me very little time. I am talking about a couple hours. This is not even a full weekend project. What I've done here, entirely start to finish. I had the idea while I was in the shower. I got out of the shower. I went, it's not quite dinner time. I sat at the computer. 30 minutes later, I had my first version of this, and it was pretty similar to what we see here. Since then, I've done some touching, like adding in a table view that wasn't there the first time, adding in an export function, adding in the map function, all of that stuff was just cherries on top afterwards. It took me less than 2 hours to have a fully finished version. It took another 2 hours to get it hosted online, mostly because I was going down a path of trying to do it for free entirely, and free web hosting really almost doesn't exist at all anymore. I went down, that took 45 minutes of going down a path down trying to get it hosted somewhere, which, Dad, hosting is where your website can exist on your computer, and if you want someone else to connect to it, like when you want to go to eBay, you don't connect to just some guy who has a computer in his basement that's running eBay. That's a bit more complicated. You connect to a big server farm where lots of data is stored and things like that. But essentially, back originally, it would just be connecting from computer to computer, the way the internet works. So I have to pay for someone else to take all of my files from my website and put it into the cloud that is the Ethernet, so that I can connect to it wherever. And it doesn't matter that I turned off the computer that I built it on, because it's not on my computer running. It's running somewhere else on someone else's computer, or usually multiple computers is kind of how that works, is spread out so that something doesn't go down. Is it perfect? It works. That's kind of how the whole internet works. That is the internet. It's all interconnected stuff. Anyway, finding an option for free hosting just really wasn't going to happen, so I'm going to have to pay a couple bucks a month. But I'm more than happy to do that to offset the cost of the fact that I have my own version of eBird, kind of, because it's got the maps. I can add my own sightings. No one will ever be able to tell me, no, I didn't see that. I can keep track of it my own with far more detail I can put into there, and I don't have to worry about anyone getting access to that. They're not going to be farming and selling my data. Not that I think eBird is doing that, but like just in general, I kind of would rather have something. And this, the main thing that I stressed to Claude is that this is something that I want to put some time into and build now, refine here while I've been thinking about it, take my many years of experience, the vision I had and everything I wanted, build this as I saw it in my head so that I could use it. And then it needs to last the rest of my lifetime. So there was a lot of work on the back end of future proofing so that no matter what changes over time, I will still have a version of this. I have used spreadsheets. I have written them down in books. I have, I never really got into it, but most of the bird field guides have a checklist. I don't know if this one in particular does, that I just have sitting next to me, but a lot of them will have a checklist for like, here's your really common ones to kind of get you going. So you can check them off as you see them. That's very common. This is its final form. It might look different when I get to, something different and I decide, oh, I want to change it. I want it to make it look like this or whatever. But like this, I see no reason that I would need anything else besides this. It's better than a spreadsheet. It's got way more data to it for everything, and I can control everything because I have all the files. So even if the company I am hosting it with goes out of business, which will happen, nothing is going to last forever. Because of the way I built it and because I have my files, I can take it and go, all right, fine, I'll put it on this company. Or maybe I'll get to the point where I want to host it myself, which means I will build a computer that is a server that just connects to the internet and properly shares that so I can connect to it from anywhere. I'm not there yet. I built a server. I use it to store my stuff. It is not open to everything. It is local area only because I just don't want to deal with the headache of like, what if someone gets into it and now my files are leaked and it's a data breach on a personal level. I'd rather not deal with that right now. I'll figure that out at another point in time when I have more security technology knowledge, but like, or I'll just pay a couple bucks a month at most, hopefully cheaper than that, to just have someone else host it. It's kind of how the internet works. And I'm really, really happy with that. And again, it took me less than 4 hours to go from an idea in my head to a fully functioning, ready to go project because of the vibe coding. It's simple. It is very simplistic. Just to be clear, a database does not take that long to make. A front end for this stuff would take a little bit. I asked my friend who's got like 10 years of developing experience after college of going through, probably more if you include all the college work, which why wouldn't you? I think about 10 years or something like that. I don't remember the exact timeline, but that much. I said, okay, start to finish, how long would this probably take? And he's like, well, it's not super complicated, but to get it into the state that you've gotten to in 4 hours would probably be maybe 2 weeks, or unless you did like a weekend of nonstop 20 hours, I'm not going to sleep coding to get it fully done with something like that. Like you could get it done in a weekend, but probably taking your time, reiterating on it, all the different things where you've been like, okay, well, wait, what if I add this? What if I want to do this with something like that? 2 weeks. And it took me 2 hours and another 2 to get it hosted. That's the future. I got to say it. I'm sure that there was an outcry when an internet search engine existed and you no longer researched in the old way. I don't remember being old enough for that, but I'm sure that there was, because it was like, what about the researchers' jobs and things like that? I don't know. I started talking about cameras and like getting film developed is very rare nowadays. It still exists, but it's pretty rare because it's just not really, and they've adapted. Now they just, it's a kiosk that I see in a grocery store that you go up to with your phone and scan a code with your phone. And it goes, which photos would you like to print? And then they'll mail them to you. They usually don't print them on demand, I don't think. I've never done that. But I did that once. But it was still a kiosk where you went to in a Walmart and then you put an SD card in and then it would print them right there. They had the photo printer inside of there. So like that is a technology. It's still going to exist in some form, but it's not going to be what everybody does. And I do think this is what everybody's going to, because I built a fully functioning thing and I didn't have to pay. At most, if I had paid for Claude, it would be $20 for a month. And then I'd have a whole rest of a month after I'd used 4 hours to do this. And it was easy. Like way easier than I thought it would be. I have done technological things. I have been doing software stuff for 2 years. This is by far the easiest project that I've had to do. And again, it's simplicity, and it, like, databases are meant to hold millions and millions of rows, and at most I'll have a couple thousand. Because even if all the birds that can be identified as male or female, and I want to have an image of both, sure, that's 2 of them. I didn't even have to do any image hosting on here because all I'm doing is pulling the URLs from my own website where I'm hosting the images. Like, I made it as simple as possible. This thing is as lightweight as it could possibly be, so I could host it for free, hopefully, but I don't think I'm going to fall under the free tier. I think I got to pay money in order to get it going. Either way, it's there. It exists. So I built it. And I'm really, really excited to get all my stuff into here and to be able to start tracking it. And I like that it gives me my stats and I can upgrade it however I want. I've been saying for years, bird watching for me is very similar to Pokemon. That's what I grew up with. I very clearly enjoy it. And like, this is my Pokedex kind of. Well, no, I guess the Pokedex would be identifying them, but this is how I can look back at my collection and see. And I want it all. I wanted a nice place to do it and a good, easy way to do it. And the benefit of it is that if I decide in the future I want to change anything, I can. I'm not beholden to, eBird updated and now I hate the way that the format is. And now I'm confused because I always used to do it this way and they changed it to something else. Like, how many times have you used an app or a service that has gone bad, that started for free, the Silicon Valley approach of starting for free, get a user base going, and then go, now you got to pay us money, and they charge a rate that you don't feel is fair to the amount that you're going to use it, or that it goes down. That's a whole thing now with the amount of like just online video games that are only online, and then they take the service away and the thing you paid for is gone, and you don't get a version to do it yourself online. I didn't want to deal with any of that. I hate the direction that the planet is going in with all of these things. This is horrible. I wanted to build something myself that I can control no matter what happens. Even if for some reason the internet, something breaks, I could just make my own local. I could just turn it on here and it doesn't have to be everywhere. It can be something that I only look at when I'm at home, but I can have it here and it's free. And it costs me the electricity to power my computer, which isn't really that much at this point in time. So I did that and I'm super happy about it. I'm really, really excited. I was so thrilled that I got it done. And the way I've been tweaking it, it was like building my websites, but even easier because I'm not clicking and dragging. I'm literally just typing, I want it to be like this. I was a little bit more fluent in the words that I used. It was a bit more like, you do have to be very detailed and specific and come to it with a plan. But like, I have very little. I know I said I've got 2 years of experience, but realistically, it's been a lot of 2 years of trying and learning and doing things like that. Like, it's not like I have nothing, but I do not in any way consider myself a developer. I cannot, before this point, cannot go from nothing to a finished product without asking for help, without having someone to explain it to me, or without stopping to go, what is this? Like, I don't know what else to say. It's really, really cool. I didn't think I'd be able to do this. It's beyond the wildest expectations that I thought. I don't need a spreadsheet anymore. I have a much better interface to do this stuff with. It's just about as easy for me to enter as a spreadsheet to track all the data, and then I get visualizations of everything. I can put all of them on a map, and I can see on a map everywhere I've gone to and everywhere I've ever sighted a bird for the first time. The first time I ever identified a bird, I can literally put a pin exactly on the coordinates there that I can take from metadata on my camera if I wanted to. I could, and I can have it spread out. I can see how many species I saw every year going back. I don't know if you can do that on eBird. I don't know if they allow you to go back. Like, can I go all the way back to 2018 and go, this is the first time I saw a cardinal? I don't know if you can do that. I've never tried because I haven't done a whole lot of eBird, but I can do that on my website, and then it's going to show me every year. It's going to show me on that dashboard, right? Like what I'm looking at here. I've only thrown a couple in here, but if I wanted to go edit one, let's say I saw the Anhinga. I mean, I did see it last year. Let's say I saw it last year. Let's say I saw it this day. I didn't, but like, let's say, and now it's there. And if I go back here, hey, look, I saw one in 2025 and two in 2026. And these are the states that I've seen them in. And that's the most recent one. And I've got stats over on the sides for how many like, it's everything I wanted. And it took almost nothing. It's so cool. I'm so happy with it. It's awesome. And I can browse for everything else that I wanted to do. And like I don't know what else to say about it. I'm just thrilled that I built a thing, and I'm very clear. I vibe coded is the most I will say. I did not develop this. I did not write any code myself. All I did was talk in plain English to a computer, just like I would be sending a message to someone else and go, here's my vision for it. Here's what I want it to be. No, can it be like this? And by the end of it, within just a couple of hours, I have a fully finished thing. This is unheard of. And I don't know how else to explain it to someone who's never done anything like this, because it doesn't seem all that complicated. It's really not. A database and a front end is really not all that complicated. There is some more difficult things under the hood as far as like the amount of things that it did, because the AI has a tendency to over-engineer things. Like I showed it to my developer friend, and he looked at it, he was like, okay, I can see what it was going for here. It didn't need to do it this way. This is overly complicated, but like it does achieve the goal that you want. Who am I to complain? If it works and I don't have any problems with it, that is going to be the long-term thing. That is the one thing I'm concerned about at this point, is that if I need to make a change in 10 years, when the next bird book comes out and they've changed the names of some of the birds, that should be just as easy as going in and editing the database, I think. If I need to add something new to the database, that should also be pretty easy. I have worked with databases before. That's a lot of the work that I have done is with database and taking data and making it into something pretty that a normal human could just look at and understand. Oh, this is the graph and the numbers go up and the numbers go down. Perfect. It's kind of what I wanted here. Not really with graphs and numbers and downs, because I don't want to, start judging myself and go, oh, I didn't do as well this year. I don't want a thing to make me feel bad. I want a thing to be proud of. And I am immensely proud is probably the wrong word, because I've explained the entire process. I'm not hiding anything else. I didn't leave anything else. I just built it at like this. Like, that's it. This has gone on for far long enough. I meant for this to be much, much shorter, but like, I don't know. I talk a lot. And at the end of the day, here's the thing that I'm super happy with. I couldn't be happier. And if I do think of anything else, like I've already thought of a few, there's the offline thing. There's, the ability to add more to the database. I don't want to have to do that through the back end. I just want a front end option to do that. It will be more complicated for it to do. I have no problems. I have no doubt that Claude can take care of that at this point in time right now. I just don't foresee a need to it, because it's got the most recent up-to-date data, and I don't need anything else for it right now. But I'm sure that there could be other things. It could be that I do want to turn it into eventually a full-fledged hosted thing where I put all of the data on there as my own personal collection and it's stored here. But right now, to keep it easier, I'm already paying storage fees to put it somewhere else on my own website. I don't really want to duplicate my efforts somewhere else. So like, I could do that. I'm sure there's even more things I haven't even considered yet. Like, besides the tracking of different, species and all the different variations that could be and how many times I see them, I'm sure that there's even more. I can't think of any right now. I have fully exhausted myself over the last few days. This like, I took a couple days, and like every day I had new ideas, and I might have more ideas tomorrow. But it's deployed, it's fully gone. I'm ready to start adding things to it. And now is the perfect time to record it before I actually put sensitive information in there. And I don't feel like showing that to everyone, and it might just stay on Patreon. But like, there it is. I'm super happy. This is done. I don't know how else to put it. I just, say what you will about AI. I agree. Everything's what I said before. I agree it's bad. I'm starting up another topic. What am I doing? Just end this. Not everything about it is good, but it does require some to get to progress. I get it. This is just the next tool. We should hold them accountable. We shouldn't just let it fall by the wayside. There should be regulations for AI 100%, and people whose stuff is stolen should absolutely be compensated for it, without a doubt. But I made a thing using AI, and it was easier than I thought, and I actually could recommend it to just average people who do not have developing degrees. Maybe not to this full extent, but easy enough that you could probably do it. Can you make a business out of it? Absolutely not. Very clear. Because I can't maintain it, because I can't read the code, because I don't know it. I would never feel comfortable selling this as a product to someone else. Very clear distinction there, because If I can't fix it, if I don't fully understand it or understand how to understand it and feel comfortable doing that, I don't feel right taking money for it. Flat out, period, end of statement. That is what it should be. And you should be aware if you're looking at a service that someone has vibe coded. Don't trust that. I wouldn't pay money for that. But for my purposes, this is perfect. This did everything I want. And if it's not perfect yet, I'll make it perfect with AI in the future, because I don't think it's going anywhere. I think vibe coding and AI and the entire thing is here to stay. And like, I got nothing else. I'm happier with this than I ever was with the spreadsheet. Now I just have to get everything in here. Oh man, that's so much work to do. Like 150 entries plus. Woo. And I got to update all the names of everything on my website. There's another 150 entries I need to do. And I've got ones that need editing that never got edited. I've got videos to edit with that and photos to edit. And I'm still going out and adding more to the collection. It's a lot of work. I'm going to push through that over the next few months probably to get things done. And then I'll be really happy that I'll be up to date and caught up with everything. All right, I hope that made sense, Dad. I have no idea. I tried my best to make it aircraft mechanic-y, but, you know, this is my version of building a plane, I guess. I don't know. Bye, everybody. Okay, real quick here at the end, because this video has been going on long enough. Just to be clear, I don't think I said I'm not replacing eBird with this for myself, and no one should do that because it's extremely useful. That data is precious to them in a way that I imagine like scientists use that to track migration patterns and what birds are seen where and things like that. Like that's got to be a game changer for them from something before, because they can't deploy anywhere near the number of people, scientists, to go out and see these things. That's just impossible. There's no budget for that. You can't, like, by having a community, by having people who just want to go bird watching as it is to see that stuff. I can't imagine what it was like before, where they had to manually track that stuff just with people who were on their payroll, I assume, or maybe volunteers. But like, this data collection from eBird is useful in so many ways. My site that I built is more for me with my own personal collection, and the first time I see a bird, I'll be able to track it multiple times, but it will be more focused on the photo quality. Or if I, now I have an audio recording or a video recording or whatever it is, that's, great and different. And I don't want it to come across that I have replaced it. I will still be using it when I go out in these ways. I realize how important it is to them that, this data is tracked with a lot of ways. And I certainly am not built to like have trips logged. That was something that the AI very specifically was like, oh, well, if you're trying to replace it, you want this, and it'll track the location data when you're in the field, and it'll, have that. And I'm like, no. I'm going to use it alongside it. This is just when I get back home and I saw something for the first time. This is all about first time sightings and then repeat sightings of really rare things where I get a good photo or something like that. Like that's the purpose of it. It is a companion and a better way to replace my spreadsheet, not replacing eBird. I just don't know if I really made that clear, and I feel like that's a very important distinction to make. And also, and then after I recorded that video, I jumped back in and made a bunch more changes. I have added far more to this capability, like the capabilities, the fields of what I could do. Oh God, what all changed? It happened so quickly. The ABA rarity code is in there now so that I can sort things by that, so I can see when I've hit something, I found something rare, how I detect, like, what kind of behavior they were doing. I need to add to that because I realized I don't have one that's just on the water for this one, but like what habitat it was in, how confident I am with the ID, why I think that. And I've got different fields. Like if I show you when I add a new one here, I've got things that I can like add, how confident I am, what I used, if it was compared, if there are notes or something like that, a journal entry, because hey, I used to blog about whenever I saw a bird anyway. That was a whole thing I did. I can just put a little story, or if I was with someone or anything like that, just general notes, what the weather conditions were at this location, more details about the locations. I can favorite it. Like I really rebuilt a ton of stuff. The wish list also, I have to go in and add one already. I'm just getting started on actually adding. So if I just favorite, or if I wish list a random one and I come in here and I go, okay, I want to edit this, it'll count how long I've had it on my wish list. I can mark, hey, here's the best time of year that I could see this in this habitat, what my priorities are to find these things. More, just so much more. I really robustly took it into a different, like,
what else can I add to this? And I thought of a bunch, and then I used AI. I used every AI chatbot I had access to for free and went, here's what I have already on my own personal thing. What else am I missing? And then I took suggestions from that with like, okay, yeah, that's a good one. No, I don't want to do that. No, I'm not trying to replace eBird. And that was another thing that I realized, oh, I don't think I made that clear. And then I just completely, I didn't overhaul, but I just added a ton more data to this. And it's even better than it was before. So within just a few hours of going, I'm done, polished off, no more changes, I completely upended, just adding tons and tons and more. Like by the end of it, after I went, here's all the changes I went. And also I talked to my developer friend who was like, don't do that. Don't do that. But I had over 1,000 lines of code added to it in one go. And he was like, yeah, if you're going to do a bunch of changes like that, there's a good chance it might break something. You'll want to do it in smaller chunks. Don't just, now that you have a functioning thing, don't just completely upend it like that. It's better to especially when you do things that are wildly different. I already knew that. I basically said that I was like, hey, this is probably the point where you warned me about doing this. And he was like, yeah, because in our own software developing, we do try to take things in different chunks, especially when we are doing differently related. If you're like updating one end entirely and the other, you could do one at a time. You don't have to try to push both at the same time, because if something breaks, you don't know which part of it broke necessarily, unless it's broken in a very obvious way. Anyway, just to summarize, not getting rid of eBird or Marlin, super useful. As a matter of fact, I immediately started thinking about, since I'm going to do audio more specifically, maybe when I go out and I'm not taking pictures, but I do have binoculars and I'm just bird watching in general, I could build a little cheap rig that's just a shotgun mic with some headphones that attaches to an audio recorder, so I can be recording them, and to my phone that has an audio input, because I do still have one of those, even, they're rare, but a 3.5 millimeter jack input to go into that. And then I could just have it running, identifying right there more accurately than just having the phone with not a shotgun mic. And then I can be recording in nice quality. So I've already got plans to completely upend and add another type of bird observation that I wasn't doing before. Now this video is officially way too long.